What's going on, everybody? So, God put it on our hearts to go ahead and get some stuff out to you guys, a little bit of teaching, and we're going to get real in depth about our lives and everything that's happened with us. And just some of the topics I got is having cancer 3 times in my life and being healed of it, my father killing himself, we got my stepdad abandoning us, me and my mom and family. We're talking about some healings that we've prayed for and seen happen. We're talking about healings that have happened to us. We're talking about giving everything away and moving across the country. But today, we're going to talk about forgiveness. And the forgiveness, I don't want this. Thank you. The forgiveness we're going to talk about is how to receive forgiveness, like for yourself, how much God wants to forgive you, and how to forgive others in your life. And then the last thing we're going to get into, I'm not going to tell you right now, but it's amazing. It's one thing that's like changed our lives forever, and that's why we're starting off with it first. So the first thing we need to realize is that God wants to forgive us and that he's already forgiven us. And so I just want to figure out exactly like what is forgiveness, because when we talk about it, some people might think, it's about like letting something go, and it's just like something you just forget about and not deal with ever again. But as a definition, if you just throw it in Google, this is the definition it'll give you. And so it says, stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. And so I wouldn't really agree with that as far as forgiveness goes. That's like letting something go. When you do forgive people, you are going to be not angry anymore. You're not going to resent them anymore. But if all you're doing is trying to make yourself to stop feeling angry at somebody, to stop feeling resentful, it's still going to eat at you. And it's going to develop like a root of bitterness in yourself. And it's going to cause a lot of problems. But the next definition on there is just one word, and it means to cancel. And so that is probably the biggest word you could use as far as like forgiveness goes. It's not just a letting go, not just forgetting about, but it's a complete cancellation of someone's debt or something you've done or something that someone has done to you. It's completely canceled out. And so I just wanted you guys to know that God has canceled your debt. And so all you have to do is receive it. And that's where we start in this whole thing of forgiveness. We have to understand that a payment has been made for us. Forgiveness, we think it's something, at least where I come from, it's like something weak people do. It's just something easy. It's like the easy way out for people. You don't go and take care of it yourself. You don't go and hurt somebody back or something like that. But only people who are weak forgive. And yet God's the one who forgives, and he's the Almighty. And as far as like being able to forgive others and things like that, where you got to start is you have to be forgiven first. You have to understand that that payment that Jesus paid has been made. Blood has been shed for forgiveness, because forgiveness from God was not free. We always talk about how salvation is a free gift, and it is to us, but it costs God a really high price to be able to forgive us. And that is like the biggest thing you have to understand, is that the forgiveness that God gives, he can give it because Jesus shed his blood for us. And so all you have to do is receive it as a gift, but know that it came at a very high price to forgive you. Now, the second thing is, forgiving others. And that's where we all get a little stuck, is about forgiving others. And then, when we get saved and we receive forgiveness and you feel that weight of sin lifted off you, it's like, oh, I don't feel it anymore. It's gone. And I've been there too. And, then you start reading in the Bible where it talks about forgiveness, and Jesus saying over and over about the importance of forgiving others and the importance of not holding on to anything in your life. So Jesus said that it was a command to forgive others. It's not just something he suggests. He's like, yeah, you should forgive others. It's like, no, he's like, you forgive others. Like, it's a commandment. And forgiveness is something that is like very, very important, and people don't emphasize enough. I haven't received a lot of teaching on forgiveness as far as forgiving others. I've been fortunate enough in my life to be able to listen to hundreds of hours of teaching. I've been fortunate enough to go to Bible college and graduate and learn a lot of things, but there hasn't been much teaching about forgiving others like in our lives. We're supposed to do it, but it's kind of just like, oh, when you're ready, just forgive them. And Jesus was like, no, he was like, look, if you don't forgive, like, my Father in heaven's not going to forgive you. And, people take that verse and they do whatever they want with it. They're like, well, see, if you don't forgive, you're going to end up in hell. And that's not what he's talking about. It's just talking about how that when you're a Christian, God's going to be dealing with you as a son. And when he deals with you as a son, he deals with the things that have happened in your life. And he brings up a lot of things in your life that need you to forgive them. And so, like, when I got saved, I was, like, thinking about, like, forgiving others. And I was like, yeah, God, if anyone's done anything to me, like, it's forgiven. Like, no big deal. And then God started bringing stuff up, like, that I had forgotten about for years. Like, I didn't think I'd ever think about that stuff ever again. And God brought up, like, so many things in the past. And he was like, what about this person? I was like, it's forgiven. Like, it's hard, but it's forgiven. And then as time goes on, and the more I walk with God, the more he shows me deeper things about what's happened in my life. It's like he's left no stone, like, unturned in my life as far as, like, forgiving others. Like, we can't just go up to God and be like, yeah, I forgive everybody. And he's going to show you, like, okay, let's see if you did. Like, we're going to show you everything. And so as I walk with him, he's shown me everything. I'm pretty sure everything that has led up to this point in my life has been dealt with between me and God and has been forgiven. And so I just want you guys to know that you don't have to hold on to those things, like, in your life, because it's a really dangerous thing to hold on to unforgiveness in your life. I want to go to 2 Corinthians 2:10 and get there. If you're on YouTube, just skip ahead 10 seconds and I'll be there. So 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 10 says, to whom ye forgive anything, I forgive also. This is Paul talking. He said, for if I forgave anything, to whom I forgave it, for your sakes forgave I it in the person of Christ, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And the way God explained it to me of why unforgiveness in our lives is really dangerous is he talked about John 10:10. And then John 10:10 says that the thief, talking about the devil, comes for no other reason except to kill, steal, and destroy in your life. And it says, but I, talking about Jesus, have come to give you life and life more abundantly. And so God explained it to me like this way. He said, like, who tempts you into sin? And I was like, well, that's an easy one, God. That's the devil. Obvious, And so God's like, right. And then time would go on. And then he would say, so whose will is it for you to sin? And I was like, well, that's pretty easy too, God. Obviously you don't want it, so it's the devil. And he's like, right. And then time would go on. And he's like, whose will are you fulfilling when you sin? And I was like, well, I know the answer, but I really don't want to admit it because I've done some sins and I don't want to admit that I fulfill the devil's will. So I was like, the devil's? And he's like, right. And then he gave me another question. He said, so what's the devil's will for your life? And then he gave me the hint. He said, John 10:10. And I was like, to steal, kill, and destroy. And then he gave me a declaration. He said, to the degree you sin in your life is the degree that stealing, killing, and destruction happen in your life. He said, in the same way, the more you yield to Christ in your life is the more that you'll have life, abundant life, and it'll happen in your life. So this just kind of revealed a lot of things to me when it comes to unforgiveness, since unforgiveness is a commandment from the Lord, that there can be a lot of things that happen in our life when we don't understand like what's going on. But when you harbor unforgiveness, Satan has an advantage over you, and Satan is going to have that inroad in, and he's going to be able to affect a lot of things in your life when you're harboring that unforgiveness. It can come in your health, it can come to your family, it can come in like finances. Devil's always trying to attack, and we don't need to give him any kind of room in there to attack harboring unforgiveness in our life. And I know it's hard to forgive. Like I've done some really, really bad stuff in my life and needed forgiveness from God and from others. And other people have done some really, really bad stuff to me, and it was hard to forgive. And I couldn't do it. It was real hard. When God brought that stuff up, I was able to forgive all of it, but at the same time, it wasn't because I'm like this awesome person that can just forgive because he's strong enough. I was like, God, I can't forgive this. I can't. And he's like, you're going to have to rely on my power to forgive. You can't rely on your own power to forgive. And so when I understood that, you have to, rely on the Holy Spirit to forgive others in your life. And then if we don't, it's going to be a serious problem throughout our whole life. I mean, people hold on to unforgiveness for decades in their life, and it's just like, oh, like eats at them alive. You know, I wish I could show you guys like pictures of me or what I looked like before, like when I was like 18, 19, before I went to the Marine Corps, even a little after, before I ended up like getting cancer, and just my face, it was like, I looked like a zombie. I was like, just like that, because I was like, I had all this hatred like in my heart, and I never forgave like the person that it was, and it was just like, it was like draining to my life force. I didn't understand it at the time. I didn't know what was happening, but it was killing me, like literally. And if you see people going around, I mean, if you see like people who aren't saved, you know, like really, really old people who look really old, but they're only really like 50 something, but they look like they're 80, and they're like on a walker and they're dying, and they're like always have a sad face or a mean face on. And it's just like they've harbored unforgiveness in their life. They've become hardened over the decades. And that's why they look like that. That's why their bodies are affected like that. That's why all the problems in their life happen like that. That's why they're so bitter towards people. They're just mean old people, no offense. Like, they're just like that. But it's because of the unforgiveness in their life. But the one thing I want to talk about that I didn't say before in the beginning is that, so this is just a story I want to tell you guys before I tell you. So I was in school in Bible college. I went to Charis Bible College over in Colorado. And during my last year, I was getting a teaching on something, but he mentioned, I don't remember what the teaching was on, but he mentioned like how you harbor like anger. I don't remember what it was. When this happened, like I forgot the entire teaching except for what God showed me. And he was talking about if you're like one of those angry people, you get angry real easy and you start punching stuff, you're like violent towards things, you throw things. He's like, you have some unfulfilled revenge against somebody in your life and you need to forgive them. And I was like, okay, the teacher that was teaching at the time, the instructor, he's someone I like really respected, and he's taught me a lot and it's changed my life. And so I was like, okay, I am that person who gets mad, or I was, not now. I don't do that now. So I was that person who got mad and threw stuff. I got angry and punched stuff. Like, I still have a cracked windshield on my car right now because I punched it a long time ago.
Some of it's from you. Some of it's from the Colorado
Some of it's from
rocks.
rocks. Yeah, the rocks helped me put a crack in it. So when I punched it, it cracked it more. So, but I was just that angry person. And it was just real easy for, I don't know, those people with the short temper. And that was me. And so I had to figure it out. And so I was just sitting there with God. I was like, okay, God, like if what he's saying is true, if I have unfulfilled revenge against somebody, I'm like, you have to show me. Because I've been with you all these years, and you have shown me a lot of people, and it's just like, I felt like I have forgiven everybody of everything they've ever done to me. And so that's what I told her. I sat there for like a good 5 minutes. I was thinking of everything I could think of. I was like, that's forgiven, that's forgiven, that's forgiven. And then finally, after 5 minutes, I was like, Lord, I was like, I can't think of anything. Like, I'm acting out in anger, like really bad sometimes, but I cannot figure out like who this person is. I was like, you have to tell me. And then the Lord started speaking to me right in the middle of class. And he was like, Thomas, he's like, you have forgiven everybody in your life. He's like, but you've never forgiven yourself. And when God said that, it was like, it hit me super hard in my heart. Like, I seen something there that I've never seen before, never knew was there. And it was like the core of everything dark, everything black, like every hatred I had, it was like at the core of my heart. It was like finally the end of unforgiveness. Like this was it. This was the core of it. And like I could like see it. I could like picture it. And it was like this big, dark, stinky, like black death ball. And it like had like this weird, like black clouds like coming off of it. Like something that would stink. Like, and it was like, I don't know how to explain it. I could just see it. And it was inside my heart. And I was like, what is this? Like, where did this come from? And God showed me it was like all the hatred I built up like towards myself throughout my entire life. And when I thought about it, it was like, why do I hate myself so much? I never understood, like, I would never say to people, I just hate myself for what I've done, but it was there. The bitterness was there. I could see it. I could see it in the spirit. I could see that ball, and it was all there. And God just showed me that how over the years that I made this like moral code for myself to live by. And I failed it over and over and over again. Every time I failed it, like more hatred for myself would come in there, more and more and more. And just like a side note, like I've had cancer like 3 times, and I think that was like one of the reasons was hating myself and just harboring that unforgiveness and stuff. We'll get more into that like a different time. But when God showed me that, I had to forgive it, and that was the hardest thing I had to like ever do in my life as far as like forgiveness goes. And I was sitting there for like half an hour, just like trying to hold myself together, like trying to keep my emotions in. Like there's tears running down my face in the middle of class, and I'm like wiping it away, and I'm just like trying to stay quiet and not like just weep in front of everybody. And I was like, God, I can't do it. I can't forgive myself. I'm trying. Like I know you want me to. I was like, Lord, I can't. And he was just like, you have to. He was like, you have to rely on me for that power to forgive yourself. And I was like, you have to help me. So I'm literally sitting there that entire time for about a half an hour trying to forgive myself, and I can't. And I was like, okay, God, like just show me what to do. What do I gotta say? Like, how do I do this? And he was just like, just say, self, I forgive you. Or say, self, do you forgive me? And then say, self, I forgive you. And so when I said that, it was like this ball just slowly dissipated like out of me. Like I could literally feel it. And it just like started coming out, and it just out of my heart, and then just dissipated like into the air. Like I didn't see it with my physical eyes, but I could like feel it happening. It like came out of me. And like those of you who have been saved, and the first time you ever felt sin lifted off of you, like it felt as strong as that. It's like how bad it was like in there, and it came out, and it just dissipated and just like disappeared. And it was like I was set free from like so many things that was happening in my life. It was like the anger was completely gone. I was still me, but there was no more hatred. There was no more anger. There was no more anything like towards people. Like all I have now is just love and goodness for people. Like I love myself now. Like you can have all these things, oh, I hate my body, I hate my face, I hate this and that. Now it's like, I just love myself. And not in like a selfish way, but it's just like, I love myself. And it's just something I never felt before. And so I don't remember if it was that day that I got home and told her like what happened in class. But then when I told her, like, then she had to go through it, and she had to forgive herself. You want to talk about that? Just like real quick. We don't have to talk about like what we forgave in our lives for ourselves for. We're just gonna talk about what happened when we forgave ourselves.
Yeah, I just remember we had an amazing like date night and everything, and it was the first time Tommy went over to his friend's house for a sleepover. So we were like, we've never had like a date night by ourselves. Let's go do that. And then like we came home, and the next morning, I don't even know what happened, but I just remember like I would always remember everything that I was doing. And of course, like you being yourself, you can always like think of all the bad stuff that you've done. So I was just like crying, and he was like, have you ever forgiven yourself? And I don't know if you told me the same day that you forgave yourself. I'm pretty sure you did. But then you like retaught it to me, and you were like, have you ever forgiven yourself? And I was like, I highly doubt that, because like I just held anger towards myself. I'd never really acted out in anger, but I just had a ton of anger and hatred literally for myself for things that I've done. So I was like bawling my eyes out, like as he was like trying to teach me and help me to forgive myself. And then he didn't have anyone to like help him through it, but I had him to help me through it, and he like helped pray for me. And it was a huge weight lifted off of me, and I don't know, it just felt so different afterwards, and we started like singing praises and everything. And
yeah, so as soon as it happened, like she forgave herself, and like all these songs like started coming to our head to sing, and they were all like songs about freedom and like thank you Jesus and stuff like that. So we've learned that anytime like songs like that just pop into your head, it means you need to sing them. So we just throw on YouTube, start singing those songs together, just praising Jesus with those songs, and that's just how we did it. And so what has happened after like we forgave ourselves? It's been like freedom. Like I don't know how to explain it more than that. Like you're set free from something. Like I don't know what unforgiveness does. You're more happy because there's nothing like inside you that you're holding against yourself. I don't know. That was like the biggest hatred I ever had, and it was all towards myself. You guys know how like when you talk to like a camera or like on a microphone, your voice sounds different? I remember I always think of like the stupidest voice in the world, and I hated it so much, and then I heard my voice, and that was the voice I hated, like without even like understanding why. And I was like, man, I even hate my own voice. And it was just nothing I ever brought up, but it was just like I hated it. Like everything about me, I just hated it. But now completely set free. No anger like whatsoever. Don't act like that. I'm not saying I don't get mad from like time to time, but nothing serious that's like I'm breaking stuff or like, you know, I've never gotten back the apartment deposit like everywhere we've lived because I've broken like so many things. It's like, no, they like, you owe us more money like because I broke so many things like just out of anger. But we're completely set free. Like, we don't have any bitterness toward each other. We don't have any bitterness towards ourselves. Like, everything's been good. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you've never heard anything taught to you about forgiving yourself, man, it is a huge, powerful thing. I don't have a verse to tell you that says Jesus said you need to forgive yourselves, but Jesus did say, like, you forgive everybody their debts. And so that includes yourself if you've done something to yourself. And this is not something that happens like once. I mean, there's once we get rid of it and we get that black stuff out of us. But every day we have to walk in forgiveness towards others and forgiveness towards ourselves, because there's times where I make mistakes. You know, if I do like a sin or something, sometimes I can feel condemnation. I know it's not from God, it's from the devil, and I'll just kind of hold myself to like a different stance. Like, why did I do this? You know, why did I treat my wife like that? Or why did I do that? And it's just like, I'll kind of dwell on it. And God's like, hey, I forgave it. You need to forgive yourself again. And so I'm just like, you're right, God. And it's like, itself, I forgive you. It's over. And we're just set free again. Everything's good. But that's just one story I wanted to share with you guys. I hope it's helped you guys out. We're going to get into a lot of other things. I'm telling you, it's going to be powerful. I'm not just going to get on here to talk to you guys about stuff that didn't affect me or just stuff that's going to make you feel good later. I hope it makes you feel good. But I mean, these things are going to make huge results in your life. I mean, just stick around. I'm going to make some more videos for you guys. I love you guys. We'll see you later.